serious?
And I feel like popping and locking, rolling and rocking, shaking and shocking. What causes energy boiling up inside of me? And I feel like popping and locking, rolling and rocking, shaking and shocking, 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 shaking and shocking.
Another one.
That's no good.
That's what this sack of wrenches is for.
That's a lot of damage.
What the?
Today we ask the age-old question.
Will it?
One shot.
Let's talk about that.
Sweet dreams, cupcake!
Yes.
Listen, I gotta go pick up a pizza.
What kind?
Boneless.
He ate it! Oh, look at him choke! Look at him suffer!
The fun begins. Who could tell me how the formula begins? X equals...
Okay, so, Glaives. Hard to initially palate, but an acquired taste. Just like Green Day, Rage Against the Machine, and Sun Tzu all say, you've got to know your enemy. When you equip the glaive, anything the opponents have becomes pretty trivial. Your enemy becomes the glaive's handicaps. It's got a learning curve steeper than the roads in San Francisco. I'm just going to assume you already know the basics of how the glaive works, so here's a couple of things you might not know. It deals explosive damage, so there's no headshot or fall off. You can get it to do splash damage, but in my experience, both targets must already be damaged and closer together than a high school couple in the hallway. The projectile feels right in about the range band of a long-range fusion rifle. Blocking with no shield energy does count as ADSing for those benefits, but I personally prefer having the reticle and the free movement of always hip-firing it. In PvP, you're going to want at least a third of the shield energy for it to be useful, and it grants a little more than 25% at a time. The shield animation will play noticeably before it actually shields you though. On testing, it can survive a Gallarhorn pretty regularly, and 2 Gallarhorns on a certain build. The shield is what you're going to use the glaive for. It's its strongest strength. Once you have the shield, you'll be crazy strong, but the problem is getting it, and managing ammo once you have it. Bungie says it has a 75% damage resistance, but don't let that big number scare you because it's only technically true. I'll make a video on that later since Bungie worded this very deceptively, but TLDR, in reality, it blocks precision modifiers and only gives about a 35% damage resistance. If you've got full shield and no ammo, just block, walk up to an opponent, and when you see the reload animation, that's when you try to get them with the melee or your other weapons or abilities. Oh, and I don't care what Bungie says. I don't care what the YouTubers say. I don't care what the community says. The glaive is not a melee weapon. Using it for the melee will guarantee you frustration, because it's literally worse than an unpowered melee. Rather, the glaive, in reality, is a bow that has draw time after the shot. What do I mean by that? Play the projectile like it's a bow. It's got travel time and deals big damage. After shooting, there's a 1.09 second cooldown that will not let you shoot or melee. You can shoot it and swap to a primary like a bow can, but the handling is so bad you're better off waiting for the second shot behind the shield. The only things I recommend doing during that time are holding up the shield, movement, and throwing a grenade. I'll get back to that in a second. The melee has a shorter cooldown, so it is much easier to melee shoot, like the BXR, than to shoot melee like a shotgun. Start with this combo. Get one melee, back up, and take the shot. It's fast and conserves ammo. Now for the perks you want to run, auxiliary reserves and accurized rounds are non-negotiable. On the third column, impulse amplifier on the Enigma can be good. I use the enhanced version only for the reload speed. Once you're practiced with the glaive, take the training wheels off and opt for some of the other perks. On the fourth column, you want Unstoppable Force. This is the most busted perk in the game. Gives you 30% bonus damage for several seconds for taking shielded damage. So basically, just for using it. Bungie will definitely nerf this perk at some point, and Swash or Adrenaline Junkie are what you'll fall back on for damage. But that 30% means that with Unstoppable Force, any buff 15% or more on top of it will one-shot. As for mods, I'm not sure which ones even work, because they all feel the same as no mod. The only two I would recommend is Backup Mag on the glaives that have 5 ammo, or Icarus Grip, since it does visibly tell you the benefit, and the glaive has horrendous aerial effectiveness. Ideally, I would like a future glaive to have Pulse Monitor, because the magazine is smaller than my budget after buying concert tickets, and has a reload speed slow enough for the band to be halfway through the set before it's done. Demolitionist Reload can also be good with my main 2 builds, but first, what to pair it with. Rev up that lawnmower and break out your socks and Crocs, because the best thing to pair with a glaive is a pulse rifle. Anything with less range, your brain will be telling you,
use that pole to win this round.
Most scouts are a little too far in range, and obviously you don't want to run double special. I use adaptive pulses so that hot swapping only requires 1 headshot to clean up after a glaive hit, but you can take your pick. Most exotic pulses are pretty solid if you aren't sure what to use. And long-range hand cannons can also be good, but their range does overlap a little. In terms of builds, there's 2 routes you can go here, on any class. Build up a one-shot, or play it safe and manage positioning to get the initial shot easier. I've tested so many builds on all the classes, these are what I found to be the best. Hunters have an interesting kit for the glaive. Nothing in the class gets you the glaive to one-shot, so you'll have to get fancy with Lumina or high energy fire if you want to do that, but the Hunter has quite the kit for disorienting. Invis will always be good for taking that first shot, but the Gemini Jesters definitely helps out a lot, and you can combine the two to make the opponent blinder than Petra and swing the fight in your favor. As a third move, the Void Hunter also has the Dive. The Dive plus the Glaive projectile tends to leave them at like 1 or 2 HP, so any minor damage buff from the Glaive, or getting them to take multiple ticks of the smoke, is the combo. I tried it with Kepri's Sting, and I'm not a Hunter main, so maybe I'm using it wrong, but it didn't seem to buff the smoke damage from the Dive specifically. And True Sight could be an interesting play after that. Otherwise, there's always Renewal Grasps for Hunter. For Warlock, Stasis is a solid choice. The Freezing Rift, Freezing Melee, and Osmiomancy Gloves for 2 freezing Cold Snap grenades means even uninvested in anything, you'll always have a way to freeze, and get 1 free shot on them. They will 100% be unfrozen before the second shot or melee combo, so I recommend just grabbing the first completely free shot for the shield, and focus on aiming to take the second shot when they break out. You could use Cryosthesia, but again, the handling is a hard ask. You'll want to use Swap Mag instead of Auxiliary Reserves, and Sidearm Dexterity mods if you want to go for Cryo. Don't use Glaive Dexterity, trust me, it doesn't help as much as you think it does. If you're going for the one-shot route on Warlock, Secant Filaments is far and away the best to go. The Empowering Rift plus Unstoppable Force will one-shot on any subclass, but on Void, you'll be at full health to start and finish the engagement thanks to the Secant Filaments. Take a look at this clip of that in action.
Zone C locked. Double down. Zone A captured. You have advantage. 2 for 1. Yes! 3 down!
As a second option, with Unstoppable Force and Arc Soul hitting 2 shots, kills low resilience, and 3 guarantees it. You might, for the same reason, want to try No Time for the Portal, also on any class. It's just easier to use Getaway Artist and Stormcaller's Rift than to rack up the Time Portal and the Glaive Shield. Also, check out CoolGuy's video for a neat trick with Wings of Sacred Dawn. You're a literal flying monkey with that build. And Titans. Oh man, Titans. Boring and easy stuff first, Stasis. The Glacier Grenade allows you to zone control so easily with the Glaive. If someone is out of range, just throw it down in between to safely close the distance behind its cover. It can also be thrown at a wall to trap someone in, and you take shots at their toes for full, easy damage. I tried Icefall Mantle since you don't receive any of the downsides when you plan on shielding, but honestly it was difficult to tell if it was worth it or not. The only benefit I found from it was surviving Galley with enough health to pick up the kill, even if, for some reason, they immediately swapped to shoot the person they just Gallarhorned with something else. But Antaeus wards full Sen's defensive play, and with Cryoclasm you can get safely between them quite effectively. Path of Burning Steps is also an option for Solar Glaives. Any Solar Final Blow will allow it to one-shot for a long time afterward. And so about those grenades. Hitting the Glaive projectile and hitting a grenade will almost always get the kill, and you can throw a grenade immediately after shooting for a near 0 TTK with literally no setup. This will conserve Glaive ammo in exchange for grenade cooldown, which is beneficial mostly in 3v3s, and we can control the cooldown better than picking up ammo. The problem is grenades have throw time and detonation time, so it's unlikely that it'll be any better than a second shot or swapping weapons. However, there are 4 grenades that explode immediately to circumvent that. 2 of them are Void Wall and Thermite. The problem with these is that they can only hit a grounded enemy and only in the detonation path. Thermite could work with Burning Steps, but I digress. Another is the Pulse Grenade. A Striker build can easily take advantage of this, since Top Tree has 2 grenades, and the other 2 can use Armamentarium. I recommend the other 2 since melee buff from either one will also let the Glaive one-shot. And maybe Arc 3.0 will change this. We might see 2 grenades on all classes due to a fragment or aspect, whatever it's called. And keep this in mind if you're using Stormcaller, that the Pulse Grenade can also make this combo. The last grenade that explodes on impact is a Fusion Grenade with Ashen Wake. Welcome to the funniest, most ridiculous build you will ever see. This makes the sweats mad. I've been bagged so many times. Ashen Wake makes the grenade explode on impact, and like Ahamkara Trip Mines, it deals max damage in the whole radius, so you don't even need to be accurate with it. Then on a grenade final blow, it refunds the whole grenade. This will steadily build up the shield on the Glaive, conserve ammo, spawn a sunspot for health regen, and with Roaring Flames, the grenade will one-shot after 2 or 3 stacks. It's crazy. I mean, what are they supposed to do against this? The grenade hits behind cover, and you only have to aim for 1 body shot the entire time. Obviously, if you're running one of these grenades, go for Adrenaline Junkie on the primary and or your heavy. And I've never seen anyone else use this build. Go nuts with it. That's all for today's video. Enjoy the builds and remember, never use the meta, always back.